welcome back to my channel. Today from another perspective. We will talk about the ribcage today. So we talked in the last videos of scoliosis about muscle tensions, about like different tensions, for example concentric and eccentric, and which muscles are tight, which are elongated, which need to be stretched, and which we need to like strengthen and work on to keep our core straight and to rewind our spine. And today we are going to talk about the ribcage and how it moved and how it looks when you have a three-dimensional S-curve. So for example, if you are right thoracic and left lumbar like me, then your ribcage shifted in a way that you have a right rib hump. So for example, if I twist, then you see that on the right side I have a rib hump, and on the left side, my left side is pretty flat. So here, yeah, the muscles are very like shortened, and on the right part, muscles are really elongated. So my rib cage twisted in a way that I have a hump on the right side, which means that the vertebrae, which are not in a straight position, but at the thoracic part, they twisted to the right, because when a vertebra twists to the right, or I show you a picture, an image of vertebra right here, then when it twists to the right, it pushes the left ribs to the front, and it pushes the right ribs to the back. And this is what happens with our spine. So our right ribs are pushed to the back and our left ribs are pushed to the front. So often the case is when we want to treat scoliosis, we want to push back the ribs. So many people tell you like you have to push your right ribs to the front and you have to push your left ribs to the back, and also like elongate this part and strengthen this part. This is one approach. For me, it feels like way more natural to not push the right ribs to the front, but it's easier for me to push like the rest of my body to my ribs, if you know what I mean. So what I'm trying to do is I try to imagine that my right ribs, that they are my natural position, and I need to push my right shoulder back to my ribs. And also I need to rotate my right hip to the right, that my other parts of my body are moving in the direction of my right ribs, so that they are aligned over there, and not to push my right ribs only to the front, because I find it really hard to do, and I cannot imagine that it's so easy to do this kind of movement in your everyday life. But for me it's way easier to think about this as my natural position of my ribs, and I want to adjust the rest of my body to that natural position. So I try to open up my right chest to really elongate these muscles. I talked about it in my last videos as well, and I really try to open up. I really try to push my shoulder and my hip more to the right and the back, so that they align with my ribs again. In doing that, I also try to derotate my right arm to the other direction, because in our natural position, the back of our arm is aligned with our spine. In scoliosis, you always have your arms a bit like, yeah, too far away from your torso. In most cases, they don't fall like naturally along the sides of your body, but often it's the case that we like bend forward and our arms are not really touching our torso. And what I try to do is to really derotate my right arm, so rotate it outwards. This opens also up my chest. I try to imagine that my right arm and my rib cage, or my back and my rib cage here, are touching. So with the outer part of my arm, I want to touch my rib cage on the right side. And also what's very important is that you imagine that you touch your left rib cage with your left arm, because we don't use our left muscles. So the left core is very weak, the left arm is very weak. So when I try to imagine that my left arm touches my left torso or my left ribs, then it automatically pushes me to the right. And when I do this, I really feel how my torso rotates to the right, how my rib hump opens up or like flattens, or that chest opens up and my rib hump flattens, and I really feel a big relief. So I like to recommend you to try this, because often it's the case, like I said, that people have the imagination that you need to push your right ribs to the front. But what if we think the other way around? What if we think that our right ribs are in its natural position and we just need to push the rest of our body to the ribs? or to align the rest of the body to the ribs. And after doing that and after training that a little bit, we will move to the lower part of the body, because it works in a similar way, but still it's a little bit different, because the lumbar curve is a little bit different to the right thoracic curve. And I'm really happy that I can share my thoughts with you, and I'm really curious what you say about it. So yeah, see you in my next video, and goodbye.